think one turning point in my life was an opportunity I had a few years ago to change my professional course, and from that I've really learned the most successful people in business professionally really learn to trust their gut. And I think if your gut's really telling you something, you follow through with that, and usually it turns out best.
A major turning point in my life was when I was in the Dominican Republic on a mission trip, and I kind of really hadn't followed my heart to that point, and I remember it specifically. I just kind of had one of those emotional breakdowns where I kind of was like, what's my life about? It was at that point where I kind of got a closer spiritual relationship, which then guided the rest of my life.
One of my biggest turning points was when I decided to leave Bucknell. It was very scary because I was like the standard life path and I was getting off of it, and I wasn't really sure where I was headed at the time. When I started working at EYP full-time, right after graduating, my first project was a set of fraternity houses for Bucknell University. So I was able to go back to the campus as a design professional instead of a student. So I felt like I was in the right place. So I was like, okay, everything ended up the way it was supposed to.
Turning point in my life, it is truly once you have children. My son's 5.5, my daughter's a little over 3. I'd always would see in my early mid-20s people with their kids' drawings up, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna be that guy. So that has been the turning point for a type A, efficient person to have that, and then to rechannel your energies. It presented a great challenge that I just embraced.
A major turning point in my life was that spring of 2011, sitting down with Reg, my now business partner, at a coffee shop, talking about what our cybersecurity company would look like. That conversation turning into another conversation with my wife where I said, hey, honey, I'm gonna quit my job at the end of the month. It was a tough decision, but again, something that I knew was inside of me that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
A major turning point in my life was moving from Baltimore back here to New York. In Baltimore, it was job security and a path that I could see retiring from, but I decided to change it up to come back to work for the company, not knowing where my place would be. So it was a big leap of faith that I could come back and be as successful as we've ended up being.
I think a turning point in my life was when I left Commerce Hub in 2006 to start a company with my friend Eric Morton. We ended up answering an ad for office space, and the person that we ended up leasing the space from was my co-founder and CEO, Colin Matthews at Merit. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, quite literally.
So for me, the biggest challenge in my life and certainly in my career is that I have a fairly deep-seated aversion to conflict. And I'm a litigation attorney. So that can be a big problem. But I take a step back from what the conflict is about. And the conflict isn't about me personally. So I'm able to take a step back and say, I understand that there's an inherent conflict here, but it's my job to be part of the resolution of that conflict. And that's how I address it in my career.
The challenge of going overseas and leading troops, the natural challenges that come from that, you get a different sense of perspective. Now when I'm in the office and we have what appears to look like maybe a catastrophe, it truly is not a catastrophe. And I think the reason I now am able to approach things like that, and a big challenge that was overcome, was just because of the experience of leading troops and going overseas.
A challenge and obstacle that I've had to overcome to get to where I am today, I would have to say, is maintaining a work-life balance through long hours, whether in the beginning of my career, if it was going to my day job and then I waitress still for a couple years at night, or even today, I'm working consistently over 60 hours a week. I still have to come in with a smile on my face, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed every morning. So I think just to keep a positive attitude and make sure you take time when you can is very important.
So in October of 2013, the Empire Center launched as its own thing. It was a challenge, and it's been a challenge for the last couple years, trying to build our organization to continue doing the things that we love to do, and to make it a successful business venture to whatever end a nonprofit is a business venture. But it's been a really rewarding one.
Not everything I do on a daily basis is all that comfortable for me. You know, really had to break outside my shell, be a little bit more extroverted than maybe you know, I might feel comfortable doing, but you know, along the way, having made those changes, you know, I've met a lot of really great people too. So I think it's probably busting out of my shell a little bit, I would say is probably uncomfortable.
I think the biggest thing that shaped me really was the decision to leave New York City in 2007. And I think this was the real time that I looked around and was like, I just want to go somewhere. Well, I think, you know, other things had a big impact on my life. This was really the first time that I just made a decision and took a chance. And I think that sort of set a different tone for how everything else that followed.
A big change for me was when I moved back to the area after working in Florida for a few years for a builder. I showed up to work on Monday thinking I was going to be the first guy there at work. I show up there at the office at 7:15. I walk in and the lights are on, there's 2 people already working at their desk. So here I am thinking I'm going to be the first person to work, and there were already people there working, and it was a pleasant surprise for me to come back to work for a family company, but knowing that we had a lot of great people here too.
I think going off to college on my own, which was very far away from Albuquerque, I really did try to have sort of the big city experience as well as a good academic experience. So I did the museums, and you know, I had fun, and I went to Central Park on a regular basis, and I think that made it that much better of an experience and made me that much more likely to stay.
The biggest turning point in my life was when I was offered the position that I'm currently in today. In February of 2009, the controller at NYBDC resigned his position, and our current president and CEO, Pat McCrell, approached me about taking on the position in an interim basis. To me, that presented an opportunity, so here we are 6 years later, and the sky is still the limit.
I started with Big Brothers Big Sisters as a big, and I met my little sister when she was 7 years old. She's turning 25 now. So seeing it from a big sister's point of view and being a child that had very strong mentors in your life, when you can tell a child that you believe in them and that there is somebody out there that just believes in their ability to be there as an adult, there's no greater aha moment than that.
A life-changing event for me that has been recent was selling Bolex. You know, as an entrepreneur, you get really into your business. It's part of your life, your personal identity, and you know, what you do after that, it's just so different. You know, you're eating, breathing, sleeping that business for so long.
Future for the Capital Region is wide open. Troy in particular is having a renaissance, a boom right now. I see Schenectady in the earlier stages of that same process. It's really a fantastic time to be part of the Capital Region. You know, we have low cost of living around here. It's a great place to live. It's really a fantastic opportunity for a young family.
The Capital Region, just in general, is a great place to be. When I came to the Capital Region in '98, it was an eye-opening place for me, and right away fell in love with the neighborhoods, the communities, the city environment. I think this is going to be a region that the world's going to look at continually and increasingly over the next 10, 20 years.
Growing up in a small farming town in Connecticut, the Albany area, Schenectady, Troy, the Tri-City area is a metropolis for me. But yet the community is extremely tight-knit. There's a lot I think that the Capital Region has to offer. It's interesting, it's fun, it's a diverse community. There's a lot of people that are willing to help and get involved, but it's fun. You know, there's a lot going on up here. We're big music fans, we're foodies. It's been a great place to settle down.
This region could be something different than a lot of other areas. The tech scene has changed a lot in the last 10 years, global foundries, the nanotech. So when you have that in your backyard, you have to get excited. We're at the forefront of that technology. So the trickle-down effect from having that kind of sector in a market is going to be interesting.
So if you asked me this question 10 years ago, it would be very different before starting a family. Now, when I look at the Capital Region, it's through a very different lens. You know, what kinds of activities and what kinds of events. And so it looks much different now.
The Capital Region is a great place for my business and my family for several reasons. I moved and relocated my company from Washington, D.C. to this area. My children appreciate and live in a place where they can experience Lake George and the majesty of going to Proctor's for a show, all within minutes of our house. This is an amazing area where we get access to everything that we'd want.
Albany, New York is an outstanding area to have an office. There's a lot of things to do in the area, so there's some outstanding restaurants in the area. I like to cycle. There's some very good locations like Thatcher Park to go bike riding. There's nice hiking, and you really actually can't beat the area in the summer, and fall is absolutely gorgeous with the apple orchards.
The reason that I decided to start this company in the Capital Region, it fit as a good, starting point. Of course, financially, but also just the previous opportunities I've already set forth from when I was in college. Had a few clients in the region as well, so it made sense at the time, and I think it was one of the best decisions I've made.
The career began for me at Texas Instruments in Dallas, Texas. A large town, lots of suburbs, lots of activity, and a cultural center. At that point in time, the Capital Region was not the nano-driven economy that it is today. I was able to jump in at the beginning of that and participate and hopefully contribute some to what the Nano Campus is and what the tech economy has become in the Capital District.
So actually, I'm really excited about a lot of the things that are happening in the Capital Region with the Tech Valley initiatives, and I'm seeing things happening with the arts community. I think the challenge for us is to be able to bring our neighbors and community members from the lower economic levels to join us in our bigger vision for the Capital Region.
I'm not really sure as to where the 10-year outlook will be for the Capital Region. But growing up in the area, now that you drive around and you look at places like CNSC and the fact that they were able to move a highway to get their building up, you can tell that change is coming, and I think it's very good change. We're almost working back to the old GE model of all these people who started off their businesses after working for a very large business for a few years. So I'm really excited to see what's going to come out of all these new people moving into the area over the next decade, I'd say.
I get inspiration from a number of areas, my wife, my kids, but also my coworkers, other people in my field. I'm inspired by them. They set the standard for commercial real estate around the globe. They motivate me to not only be the best here in the Albany area, but I'm never quite satisfied, so I want to be the best in the whole firm, which is quite a lofty goal.
The big person who's been an influence was a gentleman who I had the pleasure of working for at JetBlue, Nate Quigley. He's a serial entrepreneur, and the one thing that always sticks out in my mind with Nate is brilliant, great guy, fun to work for, extremely hardworking, focused. He gave me inspiration, but also guidance on how to be the best person and what makes a successful person and business at the same time.
Where I derive my inspiration from is the employees that work for us. We are a company that's growing, and we want our employees to grow with us. And I think that's what inspires me, is that to bring people on that want to learn and also I can learn from.
Right now, my inspiration comes from my 1-year-old. And that's funny to say, but he is inquisitive. He's always eager to take on a new challenge. He is a risk taker and throws himself happily into everything that he does, and if he fails, he picks himself up and tries immediately again and happily does it until he succeeds. And I think a lot of adults can learn from is that will to just go out on a limb and try something new and absorb everything you can.
I always tend to go back to my father, thinking about who is a major influence for me. He was also a scientist and an artist, so kind of both sides of his brain were developed very well, and that's kind of inspired me to pursue this very technical career that I have right now, but then also on the creative and artistic side and even the social side taught me how to interact with people from many different walks of life, many different cultures.
My biggest inspiration is essentially from my team. I am, yes, an independent business owner, and I don't have a full-time staff of 30 supporting me, but I have an amazing team and a husband who constantly I go to for support, venting, inspiration. They know my passion and they support my passion, so it helps give me the energy I need every day.
One of the persons who was a major influence in my life was Chris Patton. He knew a lot about really how to get a large group of people organized for a common goal, but he was pretty instrumental in really pushing me in the right direction. So that was really where I got a chance to see that what you can do in an engineering school and what you can learn during that time there is stretched pretty far out of the classes. And I'd credit most of my work outside of class as really giving me the experience that's led me to actually perform in my job now.
The strong women that surround me, growing up and even today, they are tremendous for their inspiration, their dedication, their passions. They are supporters, they aim high, they set goals, they reach goals, they excel, and they are lifelong learners.
The biggest influence in my life is my father-in-law. He put a lot of effort in mentoring me and showing me the business and supporting me. He helped me through business management in college and gave me real-life training and skills and opportunities to learn and to grow.
A major influence in my life is my parents, both very hardworking individuals. My mom came from a home where, you know, 4 daughters, traditional family, the women stay home to raise their children while the men are at work. And my mother, having four girls herself, wanted to raise her daughters to be strong, independent women. So we were, no offense to men, but we were raised in a home where you don't need a man to survive. And this is how you make your own money, this is how you change a tire, this is how you change your oil. We're going to teach you everything so you can grow up to be the most independent person you can be. So I really owe everything to them.
I would say something that really strongly influenced the career path that I'm currently in is actually my first internship while I was at Weill Cornell down in New York City, focusing on biochemistry. So it was really interesting to be in the lab and actually working with different types of insulins that then I would go home at night and my brother would actually be using. And we were testing and trying to advance, you know, why we were using different types of insulins. So that really set a fire of passion for me to say, hey, I can actually do something, you know, during the day for my career that I can see directly affecting and helping people, and that kind of surrounded my entire passion of what I do today.